man, making some of those rookie mistakes right there. But hopefully you guys are doing okay on this. I believe, what is it today? Tuesday. Man, COVID times definitely changed a lot of things. But welcome, guys, again to The Charge. Of course, this is your boy Bernie here, giving you yet the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Hoping you guys are enjoying your Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday morning, depending where you're at. East Coast time, I believe you guys are almost ready for a nice little 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, kind of just getting off of work or whatever you're doing. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your day. Here on the West Coast, we're just 3 o'clock, kind of chilling, kind of vibing right now. We kind of did some lo-fi vibes. Shout out to Sean, who's in the chat right now. And if you guys don't know, this is, of course, The Charge, where we bring you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. So if you guys are interested in basketball opinions, news and rumors, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We have a Twitter account as well called @TheChargeStream. If you guys are interested in following it to make sure that you guys are up to date with everything that's going on here in the NBA world and in the NBA atmosphere. We also talk about various NBA basketball rumors as well, college, high school, kind of looking at everything when it comes to the NBA, NCAA, G League, whatever it is, we're going to be looking at it. But, we're here to talk today about a couple things. So obviously the title of this stream is called, is Trae Young considered an MVP candidate? A lot of us right now are not really paying attention to the Hawks. I believe that, there's many of you guys that are, they signed Bogdanovich. They had some great signings with Danilo Gallinari. And we'll talk about that one in a little bit. But to me, I think the biggest I would say the biggest sort of reason, or the biggest reason why Trae Young is the MVP, is because I think me and my friend Josh, I know Pete wasn't really a big fan of Trae Young as much as I am. The reason why I think Trae Young works is because he's basically another Steph Curry. And although I've criticized Steph Curry before on this channel, saying that he can't do it on his own, I mean, it just kind of goes to show you, when you have a team around a guy like Trae Young, when you have a Bogdanovich, when you have a Collins, when you have a Cam Reddish, when you have Bruno Fernandes, who's now starting into that role, which I told you guys before, I thought I liked him, man. The fact that he's a big man that can shoot free throws and be out there when it matters most, that is a huge upside. And so we'll be seeing if he'll take over that starting role over Clint Capella. But, like I said, I do like this team a lot. I do like the fact that, Bogdanovich has played, he's only averaging 13 points a game. That's not too much, but he does the other things well. He gets you he gets you basically 7 rebounds a game. He gets you 7 rebounds a game. And basically gets you about 3 assists. Same thing with a guy like DeAndre Hunter. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of his, but man, I think DeAndre Hunter is actually a really good player. I think when I look at DeAndre Hunter, when I see what he can do, man, I think it's something special, man. I think it's one of those things where it's this is a guy that could potentially be a great role playing for you, especially if you're Hawks fans. This is probably the first time in a minute where I feel like the Hawks should be excited about their team. Although they won 60 games a couple years back, and they played against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and everyone was expecting them to kind of get to those finals. This, to me right here, this Atlanta Hawks team is more exciting than that Hawks team back then. I know that you had four All-Stars. You had, probably one of the best teams that the Hawks have ever had in their history of playing. But I really like this young team. They, like I said, they remind me of the Warriors of the East, because I feel like through the draft and through getting their free agent, they are now building a solid roster. The only question, the only issue for these Hawks, in my honest opinion, is, of course, the defense. The defense, I believe, is probably one of the worst in the NBA, if not the worst. But at the same time, I think offensively they're good enough. I think defensively we're going to see what happens. Like I said, Bogdanovich, I think, should be able to help a little bit. Definitely not the best defender out there, but I think he definitely should help. You had a guy like Rondo with that veteran experience, played yesterday, did about 15 minutes and scored 12 points. I definitely think that this is going to be a very good team. I think the Atlanta Hawks, like I said, they're going to be in that they're going to be in that contention for a playoff spot this year, because I like the way that they're made up. I think offensively they can get a bucket whenever they need to. Unlike my Boston Celtics, they can't seem to buy a bucket unless it's coming from Gordon Hayward and not Gordon Hayward. Ooh, my hair, man. This is okay. We might have to put on the hat for this hair, man. It's not looking too hot right now. We're not looking too good. But oh wow. Okay. Yeah. We'll just kind of keep it like this, and we'll put some music on so this hair can go away in a second. I'm gonna put a hat on because this is absolutely ridiculous. I thought I was gonna play around with it, make it look nice, and then I end up making it much worse. But kind of continuing talking about the Hawks really quick. Danilo Gallinari has only played one game. He's been injured, and I really think this team is much better without him. Solomon Hill is another kind of player that I like on this team. He's giving you about 20 minutes, gives you 6 points, but man, does this guy give you those buckets, man? Like, he's a guy that can, I think he's a better fit for this team than Danilo. I feel like with Danilo Gallinari is the fact that, like, with him, he's a little too slow for me, and I think the reason why it works so well in Oklahoma City is because the pace of play was much slower than it is right now, where it's like, you're up and down, especially with a guy like Trae Young. You have John Collins and Bruno Fernandez and Clint Capella that all just want to run down the court, lane run, and do all the sort of things to get easy baskets. That, to me, is what I see the Atlanta Hawks kind of doing, and I feel like Danilo Gallinari just doesn't fit that scheme, fit that system. But man, I think that this team is kind of scary. I think that this team, the PER for Trae Young right now is at 38, which is really good. Obviously, the PER will fluctuate, obviously, the more amount of games you play. But man, does this team just strike a little bit of fear in you a little bit? I mean, Trae Young right now, like I said, is on an MVP type of caliber run right now. 34 points, getting you 4 rebounds a game, 7.3 assists, 3 turnovers, not necessarily the best. He's not going to get you steals, but man, does he really know how to light it up? And I think that's kind of the thing with Trae Young, and I know that a lot of people, for some reason, I don't know why people didn't like him. Like, I know that Skip Bayless, although went to Oklahoma, the Trae Young is from Oklahoma. I don't understand why he doesn't like him. To me, he kind of gives me that Steph Curry vibe, but like a little bit I feel like can attack the lane and attack the rim a little bit better. Not saying that he's like a better shooter than Steph Curry. I'm not trying to say that at all. We know what Steph Curry is about, right? We know that Steph Curry is about the 3-point shooting. We know that he's all about the shots. But in my opinion, what I've noticed about Trae Young and what I've liked about him is like the passing, I feel like, is way better. Like, when I see Trae Young pass the ball, it's tremendously it's like the angles that he creates, the stuff that he does to get the passing. I think that he's going to be on a different level this year. I think that right now the Hawks are kind of vibing right now with where they're at. They're 3-0 right now. They're going to be playing on the 30th, which is tomorrow. They're going to be playing the Brooklyn Nets. We might go live for that one. We might do like a little live stream session for that one, because I think it would be fun to watch, to see if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving get back into the swing of things, and to see the Hawks kind of at full strength and seeing what they can do. Obviously, with the Nets losing Spencer Dinwiddie, I've said time and time again, it's a huge loss, and I think it's the reason why they'll now lose in like 2 or 3 games rather than 5 against the Lakers. But I do think that this Atlanta Hawks team is really good, and I think that with Trae Young leading the helm, with him having 42% from 3-point, 53% from the floor, I think that he's going to look really good, man. I think that he's going to win MVP, and I think we're actually going to watch some highlights in a second of Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks, so we can all see, like, Trae Young at his best. And before I go on to that, guys, YouTube is really starting to irk me a little bit with the policy violation gimmick that they had just like a couple seconds back. Like, I understand that YouTube is trying to protect from illegal streaming. I get that. I 100% agree. I am 100% in agreement with not streaming live games, because that's not really fair, right? That's pirating. That's not really, you guys are not paying for the product unless you guys are watching along with me. But, people aren't paying for it, and obviously there's some people that are trying to look for a way to watch the game. Like, I mean, everybody's done it, right? But what I do get frustrated with is that when I'm trying to show you guys highlights, and I made a video about this, and maybe I'll delete it because I don't think it really matters too much, like in terms of like what I say and put it in a video. It's like, YouTube's not going to really watch it. But what I find frustrating about it is that, like, I'm trying to show you guys like the game. I'm trying to show you guys like why the Cavaliers are doing so well, like why the Cavs have been probably the biggest surprise in the NBA so far. And for some reason, YouTube just decided to cut the stream out, and that to me really irks me, because it's like I'm not showing anything that hasn't already been seen. I'm not doing anything that's illegal, but apparently showing highlights of a game is now bad. So I'm going to make sure that YouTube understands that it is a YouTube video. It is a highlight. So that way, when they see the stream, they're not going to take it down. So without further ado, let's go to the live scene really quick. And we see here that Trae Young is definitely on that MVP caliber performance, right? 34 points, 7 assists, 42% from the 3-point land, 53%. I mean, this kid's special, man. I do think that he will be a great player in this league. I do like his game. I think that like his passing ability just makes him too good for him not to be successful in this league. Like, we've seen the mold for Steph Curry and how it works. I feel like Trae Young could be the same thing. Like, do I think Trae Young could do it by himself? Absolutely not, because I know what this game is about. This game is a 5-man game. You need every single player on the basketball court to impact the floor. Meanwhile, as it pertains to it, showing highlight from a YouTube video on a YouTube video is somehow, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, man. It's just I don't understand like why that's the case. It's frustrating to me because it's like I want to show you guys like my analysis on like why I think this team is doing so well, but of course this game, or sorry, not this game, but YouTube is just like trying to absolutely shaft anybody that does anything. But nevertheless, we're going to try, and again, guys, my Twitter account, if you guys want to follow it at the Charge Stream, it'll tell you when we're live. It'll give you like this little indication when we're live on Twitter. So if you guys are interested, go and check that out. It is very interesting to kind of read and watch, and we'll be kind of adding more to it. But let's first off look at Atlanta versus, I believe they played. What did they play last night? Let's see if they have the highlights of just kind of like 20 hours ago. They played the Pistons last night. Let me do this for YouTube so we don't get in trouble. This is a YouTube video. And we're going to mute it so that way there's no sound, so there's no like situation there. We see, I think Cam Reddish has actually been a pleasant surprise, I feel like, for Hawks fans. I know Hawks fans are actually really happy with his growth and development. Some people think that he's better than DeAndre Hunter. I'm not ready to say that just yet, but in terms of a guy that could really make an impact on the 6-man slot, I think he could really do it. I mean, look at Trae Young here. Obviously, kind of his one-on-one game, 3-pointer, bang. Like he's mastered that. And so I'm glad that he's able to do that. And then we see here on the break, we got Trae Young gonna do in and out. Caesar running Capella. Big guards. I want you to take a look at this IQ from Trae Young here. Obviously, it's a 2-on-2 situation, right? You got this guy guarding here. You got this guy right here. But you have a trailing big man in the back over here, right? This guy right here. He's trailing. You're seeing Capella run. And Trae Young makes the smart move of not trying to force it and attack the rim. This, to me, is the reason why I think Jason Tatum needs to, like, understand and I think he needs to start playing or start getting in the mindset of a point guard, because I think Jason Tatum could actually learn a lot from Trae Young. Obviously, maybe not being the passer that he is, but look at this vision to pass it to Capella. Because look at this. Grant is not in an attacking position. He's not in a defending position, right? He's caught in no man's land, because look at this. If Grant decides to step up, Collins is going to be to the side, and he's able to get an easy dunk. But also, defense is also very optional. I mean, let's look at this again, guys. Grant kind of stuck in no man's land. Not really sure if he should go to Collins or whether he should go to Clint Capella. Boom, makes the right move. And you see here that Grant right here is just not in a very good defensive position. Like this, to me, if you're going to do something, either take a charge or at least be disruptive and cause a foul. And we just don't see any of that. We see him try to sideswipe to try to get in there, but obviously to no avail for Jeremy Grant, and Clint Capella gets an easy dunk in there. Again, we're going to see some great ball movement. Good ball movement to DeAndre Hunter. Bang. I think a lineup with those three guys would actually be really good. I think Kevin Huerter, should be going on the... I don't know if he's the starter. I'm not sure. Let's look at the Atlanta Hawks really quick before we watch the rest of it. So Kevin Huerter's not a starter. Good. Because I don't think like he's necessarily like the guy that you can bring off the bench and kind of do something. But what I do like about Kevin Huerter is just like he's still in attack mode. He's still going to keep doing his thing. But, maybe we take it out of here and go to default view. So now that makes it, yeah, there we go. Jeremy stats inflated. I mean, do we think that Jeremy Grant was a little overrated last season? So let's watch it here. Trae Young with a great move. Let's watch it one more time. The block. Going to start the break. Bogdanovich to Trae Young. Starting to finally get that floater in. Like, that's the one thing that I think Trae Young has gotten a lot better at, is working on his floater game. But now that he's worked on his floater game, the one thing I still want him to work on is still finishing around the rim, because although your floaters can be lethal, I know he took a lot of them in preseason and he missed a lot. And so I want him to have like a versatile game. So if he can work on that, I think he could actually be, like I said, a really good, high caliber player. And Supreme Gamer, yeah, I mean, Jeremy Grant, I think that was kind of I don't think that was the right team to go to. I think the Pistons right now are in this like limbo territory where they don't know whether or not they want to tank or whether or not they are wanting to like kind of stay like where they're at, which is like kind of like in that that 11th to 12th seed in the NBA, and just kind of, see if they can maybe make the playoffs. But that's kind of what I've been noticing about them, is that like I'm not really too convinced with where the Detroit Pistons are at right now currently. Like they don't scream to me that they're like ready to compete, but they also don't scream like they're ready to like tank so bad, because I think they have too good of players, in my opinion, to really be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna tank this year. And so like this is kind of the situation at hand as it pertains to the Pistons. I hope they decide to trade some of their players. Like Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin should probably get traded, because I mean, what's the point of holding those guys if, one, you can't have any fans in the stadium anyway? It's not like those guys are bringing butts and seats. And two, I don't think that those two guys are really necessarily helping you if you want to go for the full tank mode. I mean, obviously you don't want to be bad where it's like, oh, we suck, we can't do anything. But you also don't want to be necessarily like at that like limbo stage. I mean, we see what the Miami Heat, they were able to get to the NBA Finals. But I mean, that I want to see if they're able to do it again, because obviously I think that was a one-off. I love Eric Spoelstra. I think he's a great coach, but I still think that they need just one more superstar player in order for them to compete and be lethal in the NBA in terms of like competing for NBA championships and NBA final appearances. So I think that the Pistons should decide just to go full rebuild. I think this is a team that needs to. But you're right. Rose does help develop Hayes. I said that before in the draft as well, like when they got him. I thought that that's kind of like where Rose would be very effective. But also I want to feel for Derrick Rose as well, where it's like, I want this guy to win a championship ring. We all remember the days when he was like dominating with the Chicago Bulls and then got hurt, unfortunately. And so I want to see him win a championship. So I would love him to be on a different team. I would love him to be on a championship winning team where he could, play some great role minutes and then end up winning a championship because of it. So let's continue watching the highlights really quick. We look at Trae Young here making that move. Here, Trae Young kind of going, sizing up. Great move by Bogdanovich to kind of get there, like we see here. Not sure why he lost his man here. Like, obviously, I think the defense here was supposed to be like, all right, Plumlee, you're just going to sit yourself in the middle and kind of be like a paint protector, while this guy on the weak side is going to help you. Like, this guy on the weak side is going to help you out with number 24. I can't remember. I don't remember this is Bruno Fernando or not. But instead, like what it does, like, that Trae's a good passer. Like, look at this. He tries to cheat because he thinks that because this guy right here is trying to think that, oh, shoot, he's going to try and pass it to Wood here. But instead, you give up an open shot to Bogdanovich and he hits it. Like, that to me, it just can't happen. I mean, I need to, like, maybe I'm like being kind of like a pessimistic coach for NBA coaches, but like, I don't understand how you let that happen. Like, at the end of the day, that's just something that you can't give up. And we see here that Kevin Kurter's on the break. Bogdanovich with the up fake. Passing it. Solomon Hill. Bang. Hits it. Gets them up by, like, I think they won this game like 128 to 120. They definitely, like, this to me also, guys, like the final score, I think they were up by like at least 20 points. The fact that it went to 128, 120 kind of goes to show you that although the Hawks are a very good team, they are much improved from last year. The defensive side of the ball is going to rear its ugly head, and we saw it last night with the LA Lakers, and we saw it last night again with the Atlanta Hawks. Like, you just can't get into a battle with the Detroit Pistons. They're way beneath you at this point. You definitely need to start stepping up your game. So I need the Hawks to start stepping up a little bit more defensively, because this to me is kind of you brought in DeAndre Hunter for this reason. You drafted him for this reason. But I think they're going to need a little bit more defensive help, because this just can't happen. We see here that Jeremy Grant trying to make a move. Banks it in. Not a bad shot. Let's see here. Rondo in the game. Great pass to Solomon Hill. Knocks it down. Great shot, man. Like the fact that you can have Rondo kind of come in as like a backup and just kind of do his thing. Like to me, that makes all the difference. The fact that you're able to have a guy like that basically be your backup. Because with Rondo's much improved shooting, he's basically, although a little bit older and a little bit slower, he's a perfect replacement for Trae Young, a guy that can get the ball to your guys that need to get the ball, and also finish around the lane, also shoot the 3-point shot. Obviously, when it comes down to the Hawks is that they're not going to be like, I don't think Rondo's going to be necessarily like knockdown shooter all the time. But if you get him open, you leave him open, he's going to hit those shots now. Before it was like kind of questionable whether or not he was going to hit it. Now it's like he's definitely hitting that shot. In Supreme Gamer, you said, do the Hawks make the playoffs? Also, they are a good yeah, I think they make the playoffs. Let me look at my list really quick, Supreme Gamer. I wrote this down so I won't forget it, and that way you guys won't call me out in the stream ever. So let me pull up my notes for what I had here. So I had the Hawks as a 7th seed. I think that they're that good, man. I think that the Hawks are just that good to where they can be a 7th seed for the Eastern Conference. Because I don't think that there's a lot of great teams out in the East. It's very top heavy. When you got the Raptors, you got the Bucks, you got the Nets, 76ers, Celtics, kind of right now just because of the way that they're playing. I'm not necessarily too enthused. But what I do like, guys, and what I'm kind of noticing here is that like I think when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks, like defensively, obviously liability. Offensively, they could light it up and they can get going at any time, any place. And we continue to watch the highlights here really quick. Good up and under move by, I don't know who that was, but that's a great up and under move. Long rebounds, of course. Cam Reddish starting the point. Kevin Herter for 3. Yeah, man. I think the one thing we did do, Supreme Gamer, is that we definitely disrespected the Indiana Pacers. Maybe you didn't, but I know I certainly did. I did not expect this kind of hot start. Obviously, I know Sabonis is an all-star. I'm not going to deny that he's really good. But, man, like 3-0 right now, where like in that conference, you have Cleveland at 3-0. You have the Pacers at 3-0. Meanwhile, Milwaukee, I believe, is like 1-2. So, like, I think that this is going to be one of those situations where we'll see what happens with the trade. I feel like the Pacers have to trade. I don't know if they can sustain this kind of longevity, in my opinion. But what I do like about them is that, like, I do think that this team is really good, and I think that they need to start trading away some of their assets. I don't think that this roster is good enough to win a playoff game or to win a playoff series, per se, but I think they're good enough to where they can get to the playoffs and maybe make a little bit of noise, but they're not going to make so much noise. And I think that if I'm the Celtics, I'm trading for Sabonis, man. I want him. I think that he's going to be that good for our team, and we need to start looking at other. I mean, if he's not the answer, we need to start looking at other moves because right now our offense is struggling. I need to look at the stats for around the league. But let's kind of continue watching the Detroit and Atlanta highlights really quick. Take a timeout. 30-39. Rondo back in the game. Little Rajon. Ooh. Yeah, the Celtics don't look good right now. Offensively, I think they're struggling. Besides Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they just can't seem to find offense anywhere. And so I think that we need to start looking at different options so we can get better players in for our offense. Because right now it is absolutely like I'm gonna look up the stats right now because I kind of want to point this out maybe in this chat. And of course, guys, we are live on Twitch right now. So if you guys are interested in our Twitch, or if you're interested in watching on Twitch, we are also live on Twitch as well. But let me pull up the stats so you guys kind of look at the highlights really quick. Oh, it is. Let's see here. Kind of watch the stats right here. I'm gonna put this in here. As we kind of continue watching right now, Bruno Fernando, just like absolutely beasting and feasting. Great pickup. I think he's gonna get more minutes than Clint Capella, in my opinion. He just looks really good, man. See Solomon Hill knocking down some shots right here. Plumlee to a nice pass. Good ball movement by the Pistons here. You look at Cam Reddish. Woo! Okay, Capella. Way to shut me up really quick. And we kind of look here, guys. Let's look at the stats while we just kind of take a pause on looking at that. You know, right now the Boston Celtics are like 25th in points, and that is just not okay. You know, we need to start scoring a little bit more. You know, you see some of the top teams. You got Giannis and the Bucks. You got the Hawks. You got defense looks so bad they can fix it. I think the defense. I don't think it's necessarily like terrible, but it's definitely not what it once was. But we see here, like, you know, we're below like the Chicago Bulls, the Kings, the Heat, the Thunder, the Hornets. Like, you know, the Heat aren't necessarily known for their scoring, and it just kind of is a frustrating thing. I understand they shoot 3-point shots, but they don't really shoot anything else, in my opinion. And without Jimmy Butler, it's definitely going to be even like more of an issue. You know, we're kind of behind teams like the Utah Jazz, who are not very offensively. I don't think are the best team out there. The Wizards. I mean, it's like, and especially the Bulls, man. Like, we should be outscoring the Bulls. Like, I know that they don't play a lick of defense, but it's just one of those things where it's like we should definitely be in the top. And I wish they had like points for like defensive stats. But I mean, look at where we're at. Turnovers per game. We're like basically at the top, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Like, we're at 11 turnovers. Or sorry, that's actually, no, that's pretty good. Where was it? It was you know, we're kind of like the stat that I really look at too is like we're 22 in assists. Like 22.3. Meanwhile, you have the Cavaliers at 31. You have the Lakers at 26 or like 27. Like, there's stats right here that I'm looking at where I'm just like, you know, the Celtics right now are kind of at the bottom tier. I mean, rebounding, I believe we're way at the bottom. We're 25th. I think we only have like one guy that's above 7 foot, and that's Theis, maybe. I mean, we're struggling right now to really do anything defensively. We're not getting the rebounds that we need to. And being 25th in the league, even though it's only been 3 games, and for some teams it's only been 2, it's not a good sight. Like, we need to start stepping up on defense and really start like attacking it and really getting into it. Because right now we're looking atrocious. Like, offensively we're looking atrocious, and defensively we're looking atrocious. And then 3-point percentage, we're kind of in the top 10. 3 points attempted, we're kind of at the bottom. Obviously, we're not hucking it like some of these teams. We see here that the Golden State Warriors are hucking it, and that's the reason why Kelly Oubre is like 0 for 31 on buckets that are not dunks. You know, we got field goal percentage. I believe we're at like basically in the middle. You know, bottom middle with like a 45%. Meanwhile, you have teams like the Pacers, who are doing really well right now, are shooting 52%, and the Lakers are at 51. Cavs at 51. I mean, there's a reason why these teams at the top are where they're at right now. It's because they're shooting the ball very well, and they're doing a good job. You know, maybe the Knicks not so much, but you do see some of these teams. Celtics can make up today in 30 minutes. I'm not a big fan of what's going on with the Celtics right now, Supreme Gamer. I'm really down on them. They've really frustrated me as a fan, and they've really frustrated me as someone who I thought like this was going to be the year where we get a star player, we pair him up with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and we go get a championship, or we get to the process of getting to it. But right now, it's just looking like we're kind of stuck in this like mediocrity land, and I don't really like that so much. I mean, let's go to opponent. I believe we're in the top we're at the top where we give up, I believe, like, you know, how many points per game we give up. Let me see differential. Like, you know, we're at a -9. Field goal percentage, -7. Like, it's just not looking. Wiggins alert? Who we talking? Who's on Wiggins alert right now? Oh yeah, with Andrew Wiggins, yeah, he's trash. But I mean, like looking at the stats, looking at everything that we're seeing here, guys, like I am not convinced right now that the Boston Celtics are in a position where we can be like, this team is going to go to the NBA Finals or is going to be a competitive team. Like, and I know that we just talked about the Hawks. The Hawks right now are looking really good. You know, they have a plus 12 in points per game between like their opponent and them. Field goal percentage is a plus 6. 3-point percentage is a plus 13. Free throw, not so much, but like assists, rebounds, blocks and turnovers. They're looking pretty good, man. Like I do think that the Hawks are going to be a very solid team. And right now, the Boston Celtics are not. They need to start stepping up. They need to start finding ways to get better because right now, we are absolutely looking atrocious, and I'm worried right now. I'm really worried. And let's continue watching a little bit of this Pistons Hawks game. Off the screen from Hunter. They're probably gonna have a second round exit. Like they're good enough to where like a Brad Stevens can make adjustments to where it's like, okay, they can beat the first round and they're like, okay, maybe the Celtics are for real. And then we get back to the same story, same song and dance, where they're basically just losing in the second round and not, or like losing in the conference final because, you know, the right now, the East has gotten much stronger, right? Because I mean, you know, actually, no, it's like, you know, the 2 of the last 4 years we've been to the Eastern Conference Final and I've not been successful. We need to start changing that culture and changing that aspect because we need to start being able to do it. Because right now it looks like there's no confidence with the team. We have gone to the Eastern Conference in 2018 and also now in 2020 or the 2019-2020 season. And so I want us to step up now and actually go and get a championship or at least go to the finals. But right now, I'm not convinced with anybody on the Celtics that we're going to be able to do that. Like, there's nobody on the Celtics where I'm like, yes, this guy's going to help us carry it. Like, even Jason Tatum, who's supposed to be our star player, like, do I trust that he will do it? I don't think so. I think that right now he's kind of like in this funk. He's in the slump. And he's putting way too much pressure on himself. You're not really making the right passes and the right reads to where I feel like he should be, you know, where you see Trae Young in a couple of these instances is like, even though he's not necessarily like the main guy, he's still able to score. He's still able to do a lot of different things and gets the balls to the guys in the right position. Where I feel like Jason Tatum takes way too long to decide whether or not he's going to pass it or whether he's going to shoot it. And by the time he's like, oh, shoot, I should pass it, he's already too late. And he's already like basically at the rim getting stripped or, you know, just kind of taking a bad sidestep or kind of contested jumper. And that's just what we don't want to see from Jason Tatum. I know that he's a talent. I know that he's really good. But this stuff right here ain't gonna cut it. Man, I thought this green tea was gonna help. But I am just yawning like a mug. We see here Bruno Fernando again, great move, great finish, should be an and one, and it is. Like that to me, guys, like Bruno Fernando is going to be a great player for the Hawks. And I think that they should start looking to start him. I believe that was Kevin Huerter or was that Bogdanovich? That was Bogdanovich. Like this team, man, I like it. I really like it, man. I really like this team. And I know people are going to say like, you know, it's not really a good team. Like, man, like when you have point guards like Rondo and Trae Young kind of on the same team, like it just makes it so much easier for everybody else to score. It really does. And I think that we're seeing here the maturation of the Atlanta Hawks, and I think that they can. You've got to be kidding me.